Hello and welcome to What's Happening, a show where we discuss EV news around the world with Omkar and Manish. So, Manish, how's it going?
Very good. It's been a while since we've recorded an episode, and as usual, there's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
And so I guess the first piece of news we're going to talk about is
Jaguar. Jaguar famously rebrands to a very different kind of aesthetic. I think they were all over Twitter, all over various media outlets for their iconic launch video that everybody saw. Very surprising. I think Jaguar always has been one of my favorite brands. Their iconic logo of the Jaguar on the front used to look really, really good. But the newer refresh actually sparked a lot of debate, right, amongst both the design community as well as the diehard auto community as well. But what do you think?
well, I mean, they totally not only just, I think they basically took the existing brand and threw some dynamite sticks in it and just blew it up. It was amazing. I actually think it's a good thing. To be honest with you, for the last 3-4 years, Jaguar has become a very irrelevant brand. And I think part of it is brand positioning. They were just kind of stuck. I'd say I'm a diehard car person, but even if you were to tell me, hey, this is an E-Pace and F-Pace and I-Pace, I wouldn't know what cars they have because they all look very kind of nothing really unique about them. So I think when they rebranded, first of all, I think it's amazingly rebranded, knowing that, Jaguar is a part of JLR, which is actually owned by the Tatas. So that means someone at Bombay House agreed to say, let's just nuke this brand and let's start from scratch. That is an amazing thing. So if you say that, Tatas are a little stodgy, I think that's a perfect example of where they just kind of said, let's kind of kill the brand. Now, some people are saying, it's kind of, I'm glad that Ratan Tata wasn't around to see this rebrand because he would have been like shocked. But I think it's a great way of just kind of saying, hey, we're going to start from scratch, blank piece of paper. The Tatas bought the brand in 2008. They bought that with Land Rover, and then in 2013 they combined it into JLR. But the truth is, I think last year the Land Rover division sold about 300,000 vehicles, and Jaguar only did about 50,000 vehicles. So huge difference, and like I said, it was very irrelevant. So I think what was really polarizing is people, when they first launched the ad, it was just like 6 or 7 models walking out of God knows what, and there's no picture of any car, anything. So it was kind of like, what are they trying to sell? But I think they're just going to say, hey, it's a blank piece of paper and we're going to start from scratch. I guess, there's so much heritage, like you said, you love some of the Jaguar, the logos, the E-Type was one of the most recognized car designs in the world. In fact, it's been rumored that Enzo Ferrari said it's the most beautiful car he's ever seen. And none of that lineage has come into what is going to be maybe the new Jaguar brand moving forward.
Exactly. So, as you said, the ad looked like more from a fashion sort of brand. Maybe somewhere they are trying to find their target audience. Previously, it used to be the old Englishman kind of target audience, and it worked really well. Jaguar was known for that kind of audience. But maybe in the new way that they're moving forward, they'll find a newer, fresher, younger audience who will actually go for that. But during the 1 week after their launch, they also, I think there was a render leak or something like that, where you saw almost a Rolls-Royce Phantom kind of a vehicle. Again, that got a huge backlash again. Pretty early to sort of say that about that particular brand, like that particular vehicle, because it's just sketches, renders, right? But what's your early impression of that particular vehicle?
So, I mean, so the idea was they were going to launch the commercial, and then they were going to show the design at Miami Design Week that was happening. And so the sketches got leaked, and everyone's like, this can't be the actual car. It can't be a concept car. There are no side mirrors. So I think that even those sketches are just trying to show that, hey, this is kind of what we're going for, something very unique. And that may not be the car that they're going to launch with, probably not for sure, because if you look at it, it's got a very long hood, and a long hood is usually, the reason why you have a long hood is because you've got a huge engine bay. Of course, these are all electric, so there really is no engine. But I think they're just trying to allude to the fact that, that's the past heritage, long hood. And maybe now we maybe want to still retain it to kind of leave the look of it. But I thought it was very early sketch, and I wouldn't even look into a car being like that. Maybe it'll be a 2-door, maybe it'll a 4-door GT. I'm not sure, but
Exactly.
they did talk about some timelines that the car will be launched at the end of 2005. And India is going to be part of what they call phase 2, which will be maybe 2026, 27.
okay.
But so they did give some timelines on when the car is going to come out. So I think whatever's said and done, this was a great rebrand because you had people like Jerry Seinfeld. Every car journalist was talking about
Everybody
it.
was talking.
Literally 6 months ago, no one cared about Jaguar. Now, of course, maybe for all the wrong reasons, but at least it's now rekindled. Everyone's like, hey, what's happening at Jaguar? So now when they launch the car, I think there's going to be a lot of talk, which is great.
It got Elon Musk talking about it as well. I
Exactly.
remember he retweeting and saying that, do they still make cars?
Yeah, are they selling cars? Exactly. So there you go. Everyone's talking about it, which is great. I mean, the worst thing is to have a new launch and really no one talking about it. And this was the exact opposite. They launched it and everyone was talking about it.
I think that was the idea that they're going for. We'll go
It worked.
as far as possible. But they had an opportunity to do something like an MG. MG also comes from, let's say, a very heritage background, but somewhere MG has not done that many refresh. I think more or less the logo looks the same for the last 20-25 years, right? But hey, like you can see like two similar companies coming out of more or less similar region. But kind of the different directions that they've gone overall, yeah. But yeah, that was about Jaguar. Next, talking about MG, we want to talk about the MG Windsor. Very surprising. I think again when it got launched, we spoke about it very briefly on the pod about how the car is, about the BAS program. But let's say 2 months later now. And that car is doing really, really, really well. I remember I was coming back from a restaurant last week and there was this car parked on an alleyway. And, it's our habit, right? If you see any car, you're like, okay, this is that car. And I just saw this bar light, because it was parked reverse. And I was like, okay, I don't know which car is this. And I just sort of kept on figuring it out. Then I was like, oh, this is the Windsor. And when you see it in real life, it looks so good. Like for the price point that they launched at, I really think that it was a really breakthrough product, and the numbers say. Yeah. So it has been the number one selling EV for the last couple of months now. MG is increasing their market share little by little. Tata is going down little by little. But very interesting. What's your take on it?
No, I think it's great. I mean, so like you said, when we talked about it, very brief, but the numbers speak for themselves. It's the number one selling EV vehicle. Previously it was the Tata Nexon, and now the MG Windsor is there. Of course, it's only 2 months. Really can't see what it's going to be like 6 months from now, 1 year from now. But I think it's great response. More importantly, I think, like you said, it looks nice. It's a boxy design. I think more importantly, it's a great people mover to get from point A to point B, and not super sexy. It's not like wow, crazy looking. It kind of blends in, and the whole battery as a service, I think, seems to have sparked some interest. So people are going there, whether they opt for the battery as a service or just buying the car outright, not sure, but it's definitely doing well for the numbers of MG, and more importantly, it's riding the wave of now they're going to launch MG Select, which is going to be launching the 2-door Cyberster. So I think that's all kind of going in MG's favor. And like you said, Jaguar, British brand, MG, a British brand, and two different ways of going after the market. And I think MG's doing spectacular with the Windsor here in India.
So let's move on to Mahindra then. Mahindra, blew everyone off. I think Mahindra, it was long time coming. I remember 3-4 years ago, Mahindra announced their BEV program, and they took a lot of these auto journos to London and to their showroom, and they had these models lying around over there. Everyone had the same thing, that there is no way the actual vehicles are going to look like this, because this looks like one of those very fancy concept vehicles. And 2 weeks ago, Mahindra launched the B6E and XEV 9E. And these vehicles turn out to be pretty good. Let's go along with the specs. Let's lay down the specs first.
So specs, BE6. So actually, before we get to the specs, like you said, in 2022, they took all these journalists, and basically idea was that Mahindra is going to, launch this electric brand. At the time, they mentioned they're going to launch 5 vehicles, 5 SUVs. And they actually had 2 different brands that they were going to run with. One was called BE, which was going to be the edgier, younger one. So they say it stands for Born Electric. And the other one was going to be called the XUV.EV, I believe. or .e.
X.EV, I guess.
X.EV, but I think now change it to XEV.
XEV, yeah.
So it'll be the XEVs and then the BEs. So the BE or the BE6E is now being called the BE6 because of the copyright or trademark infringement with Indigo.
Yeah.
But that's the edgier one, and that starts at around 19 lakhs. Starts at 19 lakhs, probably going to go to about 25, 26 lakhs. That also will have two battery packs, 59 and 79 kilowatt hour battery pack. And then the XEV 90 is the bigger one that is about a little bit bigger than the XUV 700 that's out there. And that's going to start at around 22 lakhs and go to 30 lakhs. And that also has the same 59 and 79 kilowatt hour battery pack. And at that time when they announced it, they were calling it the INGLO platform. So IN for India and GLO for global. They at the time mentioned is going to be with Volkswagen using the MEB platform. Whether that's still there, I'm not sure, because they mentioned they're going to be partnering with VW for the motors and the battery pack. But apparently the motors are VW, but the battery packs are BYD LFP Blade batteries. Yeah, so they ended up going with, and I think that's the reason why there was a slight delay, some issue, because they were going to go with the VW battery cells, but in the end they switched over to BYD, and so that's kind of where we are. But it's all I can say. Wow, looks amazing.
Yeah.
So funny thing is, the Curve.EV was launched just a month ago.
Yeah.
And now when you look at the Curve.EV, that design looks like it's 50 years old.
Exactly.
Compared to the new BE6E design. It looks really good. I've actually had a friend that has test driven both cars, and all he said was, man, that car is amazing. He said the sound system will blow you away. Harman Kardon, 16 speakers, some 1600 watts. He goes, it's amazing. The technology is great. He said the only thing that remains to be seen is, the fit finish, in the production vehicles. But he said the technology that they've thrown into both of the cars is unbelievable. They got ADAS, they've got dash cams, they've got a bunch of cameras, 360 degree perimeter view, remote parking, so you can be outside of the car and you can park the car into a very tight spot. So a lot of features are there.
So exactly.
Very exciting.
After the event, I remember, after the event, I spoke to a lot of the auto journalists and to get a very candid feedback from them, which is let's say, offline conversation with them, something that they won't sort of post online. And I wanted to ask, is it really that good? Really drilling it down, is it really that good? And everybody had the same reaction, that it is genuinely one of the nicer vehicles to come out of India, and the specs speak for itself. The biggest thing was that the range that they were claiming was very accurate. They've done a lot of work in terms of the optimization of the range, the way it is shown on the infotainment system and everything. So I'm hoping that we get to test drive one very, very soon and sort of get our analysis. But as you said, it makes the curve look outdated.
Very much so.
I can't imagine the design team at Tata they must be screaming.
Probably, but it finally shows that Mahindra has taken help of Pininfarina, which is their in-house design studio that they acquired. And Pininfarina has been known for making some of the most iconic Ferraris of the 50s and 60s. So it's great to see that they are finally using the design skills, and it clearly shows in these cars, because like you said, when they launched in 2022, when they showed it, everyone's like, oh, those are concept cars, it remains to be seen what they look like. Well, they look exactly, if you look at those photos from 2022, you look at them today, you're like, wow, that looks exactly what they launched.
Even better.
Yeah, even better, actually.
Exactly, yeah. But that's the thing with Mahindra, right? Let's say even if they are late, let's say the XEV 400 was maybe a bridge for them, like a holding sort of a car for out in the Indian market. But their collaborations, let's say with Pininfarina, also working in very silently, is the Mahindra Formula E division, based out of UK again. And they're doing really, really well again in the Formula E division. And a lot of these skills and technology, how they are coming down and trickling down towards normal passenger mobility, is very interesting to see. So very excited for Mahindra. I think everybody, the Indian EV market is going to heat up for a battle, I think, the next year. Very excited for that.
I mean, we've got a couple more from Kia and Hyundai coming. So the Creta EV is going to be launched very soon. Maruti's coming out with something. So yeah, very exciting space. And I think remains to be seen who the clear winner is, because we're going to have a lot of competition, which is great.
Don't forget the VinFast.
Yeah.
VinFast is also going to start launching their vehicles
There you go.
next year. They're going